Billy Parker is 14. He has got brown hair, green eyes, and a small nose. He has got a sister, too. Her name is Roxanne, but everybody calls her Rox. It is August. Billy and Rox are staying at their grandmother's house in Brighton. One Sunday, Billy looks at his bicycle. It is very, very old. "I need a new one," he says. "But the question is, how? New bikes are so expensive." Now it is Friday afternoon. Billy and Rox are outside a new hospital in London. Billy is carrying lots of red roses. At 2:30, he is going to give them to the Queen. At that moment, Rox is going to take a photo. Just before 2 o'clock, the hospital doors open. "What's happening?" says Billy. Someone comes out. It is a tall man with grey hair.
"Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen,"
he says. Everyone is quiet. The man looks at his shoes. Then he looks at all the people in front of him.
"I'm afraid I've got some bad news,"
he says.
"The Queen has a cold and can't be with us today."
"That's it," says Billy. He gives the roses to a woman beside him. "Here," he says. "You can have these." Then he walks down the street. He is very angry. Rox follows him. 2 minutes later, she stops. Billy looks behind him. "What are you doing?" he asks. Rox is standing in front of a big building. "I've got an idea," she says, and smiles. Now Billy looks at the building, too. It is Madame Tussauds. "An idea?" he says. "Yes." Rox takes his arm. "Come on," she says. "Let's go in." Billy follows her. "But why?" he asks. "I don't understand." "Don't ask questions. Just follow me," says Rox. There are lots of famous people in Madame Tussauds. Pop stars, sports stars, world leaders. Suddenly, Billy sees the British royal family. "Now do you understand?" asks Rox. "Yes," says Billy, and starts to laugh. He stands next to the Queen. "Smile," says Rox. Her brother smiles. Click. Rox takes a photo. But at that moment, someone shouts, "Hey, what are you two doing?" It is a Madame Tussauds guard, and he is very angry. "You can't take photos like that in here," he says. "Come on, give me that camera, now." Rox looks at Billy. "What do we do?" she asks. "Run," says Billy. They start to run. The guard follows them. "Come back here!" he shouts. But Billy and Rox do not stop. 2 weeks later, Gran is talking to her neighbour, Mrs. Clark. They are both looking at Palace magazine. Out in the garden, Billy and Rox are riding their new bikes. "What a beautiful photo," says Mrs. Clark. "And how wonderful for you to have a grandson who knows the Queen. Does he know her well?" "No, not very well," says Gran. She smiles. "More tea, Mrs. Clark?" "It's all right for you," says Rox. "I haven't got a bike at all." At that moment, Gran opens the back door. "Key," she says. Billy and Rox go into the house. "Gran," says Billy at tea, "do you know how I can make a lot of money?" Gran smiles at him. "Why do you ask?" "He wants to buy a new bike," says Rox. "Oh, I see." Gran thinks for a minute. Then she says, "I know." "What?" asks Billy. A magazine called Palace is on the table. Gran opens it. "Look," she says. "There's a competition here, and the first prize is £500. Billy looks at the magazine. "Send us a photo of you and the Queen together," he reads. "Together?" says Rox. Billy looks at Gran. "But I don't understand," he says. "How do people know where the Queen's going to be?" "That's easy," says Gran. "It tells you every week in the magazine." She turns to page 67 of Palace. "Look, here we are. Tomorrow she's going to a horse show near here. On Wednesday she's going to see a film. And on Friday she's going to open a new hospital." Billy looks at Rox. "What do you think?" he asks. Rox smiles. "I think you can buy 2 new bikes for £500, she says. The next day is Monday. There is a horse show near Brighton, and the Queen is going to be there at 11 o'clock. Billy and Rox leave at 10 o'clock. "Now, have you got everything?" asks Gran. "Camera? Sandwiches? Umbrella? Coffee? Money?" Billy looks at the sky. "Yes, Gran," he says. "All right, then. Have a nice time," says the old lady. Rox smiles. "Thanks, Gran," she says. Brighton station is only 5 minutes away from Gran's house. Billy and Rox walk there. "Okay, which train do we want?" asks Billy. "The 10:18, says Rox. They arrive at the horse show just after 11 o'clock. There are lots of people. "Can you see the Queen?" asks Rox. "No, I can't," says Billy. He looks left and right. Then he stops. "Yes, I can," he says. "Look, she's over there." He is right. The Queen is standing next to a horse. "Have you got the camera?" asks Billy. "Yes." Rox takes it out of her bag. "Come on," says Billy. He smiles. "This is going to be easy." But at that moment, 3 very tall men stand in front of him and Rox. "We want to take a photo of the Queen," says Billy. "Is that okay?" "No," says one of the men. He puts his face near Billy. It is starting to rain. "Come on," she says. "Let's go home. We're not going to get a photo today. We can try again on Wednesday. The Queen's going to see a film in London, remember?" Wednesday arrives. Billy and Rox take a train to London. They get to the Odeon Cinema, Leicester Square, at 7:15. In Palace magazine it says, The film starts at 7:30. There are hundreds of people outside the cinema. Everyone is waiting to see the Queen. Her car arrives at 7:25. "Okay," says Billy. "Are you ready?" Rox smiles and says, "Yes." The car stops. The Queen gets out. Everyone starts to move. "Now," says Billy. But suddenly Rox cannot see anything. She puts the camera above her head. Click! But she only gets a picture of Billy's ear.